What's up, guys? It's Kevin here from RetroTech, and today we're going to talk about the greatest video game console ever envisioned. Okay, maybe not, but we are going to talk Atari. These are a few of the consoles I have on my collection. And Atari is a company with a long and colorful history, but we're not here to discuss that. We're here to talk about one of the largest consoles ever created, the Atari 5200 SuperSystem. In 1982, the Atari 5200 SuperSystem was a bit of an oddball at the time. It was based off of the Atari 8-bit computers, namely the Atari 400 and 800, which were quite powerful in their own right. This made the Atari 5200 one of the most powerful consoles of the early 1980s, easily able to emulate many of the popular arcade titles, which was the name of the game back then. Sharing the same hardware with the 8-bit computer systems made porting over software extremely easily, and it was done quite a bit. In fact, the only major difference between the Atari 5200 and the 8-bit computer systems is the fact that the 5200 came bundled with an analog joystick. The joystick that came bundled with the Atari 5200 computer system has caused a bit of contention with consumers and collectors alike due to the fact that it's easily broken, but we'll touch more on that later. Now, the Atari 5200 SuperSystem is quite large, as you can see, one of the largest consoles ever created. Part of that is due to the fact that it has this nifty storage compartment right on the top, where you can simply place your controller in and close it back up. There's room in there for two controllers. It's a bit of a tight fit with cables. Now, if you're a bit of an Atari 5200 fan, you may have noticed that my console is just a little bit different than most of the other ones you'll encounter. That's because the original came with a bit of genius engineering. The original 5200 console had one wire that was built into the console that was not removable. This is where the genius came in. They designed a system where the RF adapter and the power unit were one unit, and you would have power plugged in, and then it would go out to the TV and one wire going to the console. Very simple, especially since a lot of times these cables were not long enough and you had to pull the system out. And instead of fumbling around with multiple wires, you just had to fumble with the one. The one I have here I have modded to use the standard Nintendo, SNES, N64, and GameCube AV output. That way I can use S-Video to get a clearer picture, and I can hook it up to my more modern equipment. The only downside to this is now I also have to plug in a power cable separately to the console. Other than that, everything with the console is original. Now back to this infamous joystick. The joystick that came bundled with the Atari 5200 was a little bit different than what most people think of as the classic Atari controller. What made this controller a little bit different is the fact that it had an analog joystick instead of a digital one, which is what its predecessor used. Another difference is the fact that this one came with a 12-button pad, much like something you might find on the Intellivision or an old touch-tone telephone. Now, the Atari 5200 controller also made use of overlays that covered the 12-button pad, much like the Intellivision. This made it much easier to use the special controls that the software designers put into their games. The downside was most cartridges didn't come with the 12-button overlay. There are many other faults with this joystick, including the fact that they're not very durable, they seem a little rugged, but the internals are not. I purchased over 15 of these on eBay, and only one of them was working out of the box. Then there was the fact that they made use of a simple rubber boot for the self-centering of the joystick, which made it very difficult in certain games where you needed the quick twitch movement. As bad as the original joystick was, Atari had another stroke of genius when they came up with the Atari 5200 CX53 trackball controller. This is one of my favorite controllers of all time, and I can't think of anything on this controller that I don't actually like. Using this controller to play games such as Centipede and Missile Command very closely rival the arcade experience. There is also quite a following of the Atari trackball controllers on Facebook. There's a link in the description, or you can click right here. There were many great arcade ports released for the Atari 5200 SuperSystem. Some of my favorites include Mario Brothers, Centipede, Donkey Kong, and Miss Pac-Man. There have even been some homebrew ports of popular games, such as Millipede. In 2007, one homebrewer even made Adventure 2, a direct sequel to the smash hit for the 2600, Adventure. In the end, the Atari 5200 was unfortunately a short-lived system with the video game crash of 1984. This console is still one of my favorites, and I play it on the regular. And I would suggest if you don't have one in your collection, you go ahead and pick one up. With the power of the console and the selection of great games, I don't think this thing will be collecting too much dust. If you want to learn more about the Atari 5200 SuperSystem from somebody who knows a lot more about it than I do, go ahead and check out this podcast right here. Also, click right here to follow us on Facebook and Twitter. If you enjoyed this video, give me a thumbs up. If not, go ahead and throw a thumbs down. Don't forget to leave a comment down below. Don't forget to subscribe and check the links in the video description.